The topic for the present video is clinical trials overview, and in this video we are going to see the information about clinical trials. We will learn what are clinical trials, what are the important types, what are the phases of clinical trials, and how these clinical trials help in the development of new formulations and new drug treatments, new drugs for the treatment of unmet medical needs, and how these clinical trials are beneficial in the drug development. So, what are the clinical trials? The meaning of clinical trials means the research studies conducted on human subjects to evaluate the new treatments. So, after IND, the clinical trial starts with the phase 1 trials. Clinical trials involves dosing of the new formulation, new drug products, or unapproved drug products or under study drug products in the human subjects and evaluate their safety and efficacy. The prime objective of the clinical trial is to generate and gather the data on safety, efficacy, and side effects of the new medical treatments, new drugs, and new formulations. So, once the IND is completed, the formulation is dosed to the human subjects, and then the data regarding the safety, efficacy, and side effects is collected. Pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic data is collected from the clinical trials. Clinical trials are mainly divided into 4 phases, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4 stages, or phases, you can say it. And all the phases, starting from phase 1 to 4, are designed to test the safety, efficacy, and the long term effects of the new drugs. The types of the clinical trials are like treatment types, prevention type, diagnostic type, screening type, and quality of life trials. So, based on the design and based on the objective, the clinical trials may be for treatment, prevention, diagnostic, screening, and quality of life. Subjects or participants in the clinical trials are selected with some basic criteria. That criteria is for the inclusion and exclusion of the subjects. The participants or subject may be the healthy subjects or these may be the patients. So, whenever there is a safety concern, the patients are enrolled into the clinical trials. Mainly, the subjects are patient or the people who are suffering from the disease for which the drug is indicated, and these subjects are provided the informed consent so that participants will understand the objective of the clinical trial, purpose of the clinical trial, what are the risks and procedures before they join into the clinical trial. So informed consent is provided to the subjects. Then based on to the requirement, patients and healthy subjects are recruited and clinical trials are performed. There are some basic inclusion and exclusion criteria for the subjects. Then coming to the protection of subjects. So based on to the ethical guidelines, the ethics and ethical guidelines protect the participants from unethical practices or unethical way of clinical trials or performing the testing of new drugs, and ensure the compliance with safety and ethics standards. Clinical trials should meet the strict ethics and scientific standards. Based on to the preclinical data, the doses are determined, the dosing schedule is determined, and the study is designed for the clinical trials. So there should be a strict scientific standard, and clinical trial I have referred is at CT. So CT should be performed with strict ethics. Regulatory bodies have developed guidelines for conducting the clinical trials. ICH guidelines are there, EMA guidelines are there, USFDA guidelines are there for performing the clinical trials. Then one of the main terminology you might have heard, that is randomization and blinding. So once you select the patients or subjects, you go for the randomization and blinding. So randomization assigns participants into group and it avoids the predetermined way of conducting the or treating or performing the treatment onto the specific patients. Once you perform randomization, the randomization will provide you the equal chance for each patient to receive the drug and the placebo. And then comes into the blinding. So blinding prevents bias in the results. So randomization and blinding terminologies are there, which provides the participant into groups and also prevents the bias in the results. Now coming to the applications of the clinical trials. So as we have seen, clinical trials are performed onto the new drugs, new molecules, new chemical entities and new formulations to understand their safety, efficacy and side effects. Pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic data is collected. So application of the clinical trial is for the drug development. It is a important stage or phase in the drug development and drug approval, or you can say it as a new drug approval. It helps in the advancement of medical knowledge and scientific knowledge, improves treatment and dosing schedules. It offers hope to the patients for the treatment. So new treatments are approved based on the results of clinical trials. So clinical positive clinical trial will give the great hope to the patients for the new drugs and new treatments. So this is a short video regarding clinical trials overview. I hope you might have got good understanding about this topic, and I will make some more videos on clinical trials in upcoming time. Till then, stay tuned to this channel and thank you for watching the video.